Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. It has been raining for 3 days here in LA, and it feels so nice to have this cocoon of weather. I really think that rain is so healing. It's such a cleansing experience. We get to really just go inward. We get to experience that flushing away, that washing away of energetic debris, physical debris, stagnation. And when we go for long periods of time without rain, I start to feel a little weird. I start to feel a little like stale or stagnant. And of course, we're in the rainy season here in LA, and it's just felt so nice. I feel like the energy here I feel like nature is mirroring the astrological energy too, or the astrological energy is mirroring nature. Because we are in this descent, and this week in particular is such a deep descent. On November 18th, we have Mercury retrograde back into Scorpio. On the 20th, we have a new moon in Scorpio. And then on the 21st, we have the sun entering Sagittarius. So Sagittarius season begins. So the ending or sort of completion of Scorpio season is a big one. We've had these late degree new moons over the last few months, and I think this energy really mirrors the energy of this cycle, this larger cycle that we find ourselves within. We have this week 6 planets in the last degrees of their signs. So Saturn, Neptune in the last degrees of Pisces, Uranus in the last degrees of Taurus, the sun, moon, and Mercury all in the last degrees of Scorpio. And what's also interesting is that they're all connected to this new moon in Scorpio. So this is a time of completion, of going inward, of retrograding, of spiraling down into the descent, into the underworld, into revisiting the past, where things have been held for days, months, years, lifetimes. So this week is a small completion cycle of a larger cycle that's ending in February of 2026. We, of course, have Saturn and Neptune in the last degrees of Pisces, and they'll be revisiting this place until February of 2026 when they together cross into Aries at the 0 point. And so we're completing a chapter that began in 2023, a chapter that began in 2011 with Neptune and Pisces. And this is all about dissolving illusion. This is all about reckoning with reality, coming back to what's real, what's tangible, what's tactile. It's about allowing yourself to be expansive, to dream, to move beyond what we see within the physical while also staying grounded in the physical. Collectively, this is a time of unveiling. I think from now, since Saturn and Neptune both re-entered Pisces, but from then until February, really through the first degrees of Aries for the first half of 2026, we are going to see a lot of disclosure. Neptune in Pisces has kind of been this dreamlike cocoon, and we really needed this space because as a species, as a collective, as a society, we have needed to move beyond the walls of our mind. We've needed to access this spiritual awakening. And it really began around 2011, 2012. I know many of you have been on this path for much longer, but there's been this great wave of awakening since that 2012 mark. And with that, comes a lot of illusion too. When we think about this spiritual awakening process, when we think about awakening beyond the seen and into the unseen, just like with anything, there will be false prophets. There will be people, humans, with their humanness, their messiness, their greed, their desire for power, control, greed, who will want to take advantage of the power that is available in this spiritual realm as well. It's just like with anything, we're seeing it. And any time we open a new gateway or pathway, we see people who would like to take advantage of that space. And it's pretty sneaky. I mean, coming into a position of power, especially when you are working within the healing realm or the spiritual realm or the self-development realm or the wellness realm, there is a lot of darkness when people seek that space for the power that comes with it. I've seen so many teachers, mentors, people that I've worked with, people that I don't know who are in the spiritual world, who stop doing their own work, who are living in this space of comfort because they've accessed a level of power and they no longer are accessing their own ego deaths. And this is really where things get tricky. There's also a lot of spiritual narcissism, a lot of manipulative, deceptive people that get attracted into this realm. So I think we're going to see a lot more false prophets dissolve. We're going to have to, because this pattern is not just in the spiritual world, it's across the board. Where are we pedestaling people? Where are we giving away our power and expecting to be saved by someone? Where are we expecting that this person will fix all of our problems, or thinking or feeling a certain way about someone and subtly putting them on a pedestal? It's really amazing how quickly it happens and how easily and sneaky it can be. And all of the work we're doing right now is dissolving illusion, dissolving dissociation, dissolving separation from self, so that we can fine-tune our truth channel, so that we can discern what's real, what's authentic and true for us, because we'll need that finely tuned truth channel for this next chapter. And I know I kind of repeat myself a lot when I say these things, but it's how I really see this next chapter emerging and what we'll need. And so we're in this preparatory phase. The last 15 years with Pluto and Capricorn, we've been dissolving this hierarchy, this belief that we have to have a gatekeeper between ourselves and God, ourselves and source, between us and knowledge and power. And the era that we're moving into has no hierarchy. It's power to the people. And this is why we're seeing so much disclosure around leaders and corruption and power and greed. The fact that political leaders, regardless of party, are sleeping in the same bed. They're working with the same masters. They have the same people sign their paycheck, which means we, as a people, have to get really good at discerning what's real and what isn't, where our power lies, where our truth lies, so we can actually reclaim our power as a collective, as a group, as a species, so that we can enact the change that we truly desire to see. And we're still in the death, the decay, the loss, the confusion, the liminal to some degree. We're starting to see glimpses of what this next new world will look like, but we're still really having to be with our relationship with loss, with change, with the unknown, with the unseen. That's the Saturn and Neptune, late degrees Pisces. We are reckoning with our relationship with the unknown, with the unseen, with the intangible. Because Neptune and Saturn in Pisces isn't only about dissolving illusion. It's about embracing the unknown. It's about dreams and expansion. It's about the interconnectedness of all things. And 2025 is this in-between year. We are still in the old, not in the new, working on releasing. We are ending a 9-year in numerology. This is completions, endings, shedding, releasing, death, decay. As we approach the end of 2025, we are going to experience more loss, more release, more surfacing of our attached system. And I really think that's what this week is about. This is a big final release of this quite intense Scorpio season. With Mercury retrograde re-entering Scorpio, we are clearing the mental debris, really getting into the subconscious to witness what needs rewiring for this next phase. Like I said, this week we have 6 planets in the last degrees of their signs: Neptune, Saturn, Uranus, the Sun, Moon, Mercury. So this is a time of completion, a small cycle that's completing inside of a larger cycle that's ending in February of 2026. And this week carries unmistakable intensity. We might be able to feel this entering into the underworld to retrieve something essential, something that's needed. The skies are heavy with water. Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, reminding us that our emotional landscape, our physical landscape is just as important as the work of the mind. So Mercury, the messenger, retrogrades back into Scorpio on the 18th. We already have the Sun and Venus in Scorpio, traversing this underworld journey related to our values, our identity, our sense of self, our connections, our attachments, our sense of power and control, our values. This time with Mercury retrograding through Scorpio until December 11th, we will have an unearthing of old relational material. Old material and beliefs around money, value, worth, attachment, connection, intimacy, power, control. Mercury's return to Scorpio deepens this descent. While in Sagittarius, our minds really were working through expansion to make sense of something larger, the larger picture, philosophy, spirituality. But Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is such a deep descent. It's into our psychology. It's into our subconscious. The mind becomes a scalpel. We're invited to dissect what's really driving our thoughts, our reactions, our desires, our attachments, our need for control. Things that will surface through this time from now until December 11th, especially this week, we have this supercharged Mercury retrograde conjunct the new moon in Scorpio. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. But we're going to see surfacing of hidden motivations, buried emotions, unspoken truths, shadow work. Like I said, this is a time to examine where we have control mechanisms, unhealthy attachment patterns, where we have manipulative tendencies, material around money, value, worth, connection, intimacy, and power. For me personally, I was kind of sensing that something around my attachment system would be activated in November and December, and I just had no clue what it would be, sort of like assuming, something about Arlo would come up or something in my relationship. And then I got a message from a rescue looking for a foster for this big noodle doodle guy that is so similar to Arlo. It happened literally 3 days after we got back to LA from the Midwest. And so we have this big, sweet foster guy that we are holding until his forever family can find him. And there's so much sweetness. The part of me that has missed this sort of void space of attachment since I lost my soul dog Arlo is getting activated. And we're kind of navigating the space of creating such a safe space for him to be, but not getting too attached. And so lo and behold, my attachment patterns are up. And so there's so much here that this Mercury retrograde, Venus and Scorpio is kicking up for me personally around attachment and intimacy and connection. And I do think in so many ways, dogs can access a deeper layer of connection and intimacy and attachment with us than humans can at times, because their love is so pure. So they access a different part of our hearts. And so I am in that currently. My partner is too. And we're just kind of observing what's coming up. And it's so helpful to understand what's happening astrologically, because I can understand now what this lesson is here to teach me and what I can do for him as I navigate this space personally. Last week, we also had, I just want to mention this, the most insane solar activity I have ever experienced personally. And I had a headache for 4 days. I had body anxiety, just so many mental patterns coming up. And of course, we had the Mercury retrograde, Mars conjunction, which was pretty spot on with that timing as well. But it was mostly solar activity, solar flares that were activating this, flooding our planet with consciousness, light, activating the density within our cells. And that's what happens when we have big solar activity. So I probably had 50 people respond to my Instagram stories saying they experienced the same exact things. People who never have headaches, people who never have body anxiety. And so just know if you're feeling a little vulnerable or sensitive right now, yes, the skies are active astrologically, but there's also a lot of solar activity too. So once Mercury slides back into Scorpio on November 18th, it immediately starts to meet with the sun. And then a day later, on November 19th at 10:46 p.m. Pacific, we have a new moon in Scorpio at 28 degrees. This new moon is conjunct Mercury retrograde. It's opposite Uranus and Taurus. It is forming a grand trine with the sun, with Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. So this new moon, which is a conjunction between the sun and the moon, is forming a grand trine with Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, which are all retrograde in water. So we are quite literally in the underworld. This is the most watery new moon of the year. This will probably bring us back to March 2025 timelines. This feeling of being floating in the emotional landscape. There was so much Piscean energy then. It might feel like that now. And so there's a bit of a push and pull with this new moon. We have this great support from this water trine, this grand water trine. Support in processing emotions, going into the depths, really letting ourselves feel what's unseen, what's unspoken. But then we have this activation of this opposition with Uranus and Taurus. And Uranus just retrograded back into Taurus 2 weeks ago. It will be here until April, and it's really shaking our foundations, shaking our material foundations, our values, our resources, our sense of security and safety and stability. If we think about a new moon, conjunct Mercury retrograde, opposite Uranus in fixed signs, this is about liberating ourselves from unhealthy patterns, attachment patterns, addictions, beliefs, control dynamics, anything that's keeping us stuck or fixed. Unearthing those roots that are ready to die so that we can form deeper, stronger roots in more authentic soil. And this is about inner liberation. Uranus opposite a new moon in fixed Scorpio and Taurus is all about unblocking, unlocking, liberating. There could also be shocking insights that could arise as well because Uranus is the planet of shock and change and fast, quick change. And this is about inner reclamation, reclaiming power, trust, emotional agency. This new moon will confront us with the ways we've sought safety through control. The unexpected may unfold, plans change, truths unravel, emotions surge. But it's all part of this greater liberation process. The universe wants us to be free. It wants us to be sovereign. It wants us to be liberated from the shackles of the past. We're being unbound from old contracts, these unspoken loyalties that have kept us small. And those could be loyalties to old relationships. That could be loyalties to old belief systems that have kept us, yes, small, but also safe to some degree. We've been in the familiar. It's time that we dissolve the contracts that are keeping us contracted. This grand trine in water, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, offers these healing, currents, this vibration amidst all of this intensity, these shocks, these revelations that may surface, or the discomfort that can arise when we feel like we're being pushed out of our comfort zone. This grand trine with Jupiter retrograde in Cancer, Neptune and Saturn retrograde in Pisces is helping us surface this deep emotional undercurrent, our underworld. It's giving us an opportunity to create a new future with new scaffolding, plans, and insight. Trines are supportive aspects. They bring gifts. They reveal things that we need that can actually support us in ways that don't have to feel so challenging and overwhelming. This Uranus and Taurus energy can be a little abrupt or aggressive or even abrasive. But this grand trine in water, this is the pull, this is the support to cleanse without erasing, to release without running, to feel without drowning. In many ways, I think that this is sort of a final exam in this great chapter that we've had in water. This is in many ways, I think, an unearthing or an excavation of our mental and emotional landscape related to these planets and their journeys through these signs that they're completing this year. This new moon in Scorpio is unearthing our mental, emotional programs, patterns, beliefs connected to Saturn and Neptune's journey through Pisces, which was 2023 and all the way back to 2011. Jupiter's journey in Cancer, which began in June, and Uranus's journey in Taurus that began in 2018. So these specific timelines, think back to these timelines. What were you navigating then? What were you navigating from then to now? What are you still attached to? What charge do you have around these parts of your life? I would look at where this grand trine is landing in your chart, where you have Scorpio, where you have Pisces, where you have Cancer, where you have Taurus. This you will feel the most. If you have placements in Aquarius and Leo, you will also feel this because they are fixed signs as well and will be forming a square with this new moon. This moon tends to our past, to the experiences, the memories that we've had since 2011 and even before, lifetimes ago, ancestral imprints that we've carried related to our sense of safety and security. This moon is revealing the ways in which we're still defaulting to old, unsupportive patterns of power, control, leadership, manipulation, coercion, and revealing new ways of leading. I think in many ways, this grand trine is supporting us to take ownership of our emotional landscape, to take ownership of our wounds, to say, this wound from the past is impacting my current present moment. I'm taking ownership over that. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean I'm evil or dark. It just means I'm having a human experience that is being influenced by my past experiences. This is a moon of the underworld, of our subconscious. We have to acknowledge that we have past experiences, that we have a whole lifetime of experiences that do impact our present moment. 95% of our reality is projected from our subconscious, which means the past impacts our present moment, our reality now. And I think in many ways, this is a softening moon where we can just say, that's okay. And I still love these parts. And I can reparent these parts and show them that they don't need to take the reins of life, that they can soften, that they can feel safe with me now, my higher adult self. And new moons are new beginnings, yes. And there are hints of new beginnings with this new moon. But there also is a lot of old material to be sorted through with all of these planets retrograde aspecting this moon, with Mercury retrograde present with this moon, with the nature of Scorpio and the underworld and the past that lives there. And so this time can feel, once again, like the past is layered with the future, reminding us that we cannot forget or abandon our past as we create this new future. But we can allow it to ripen us. We can allow it to make us more wise, more whole, more embodied. This time is not about abandoning our past. It's about integrating it. We are midwives and death doulas at the same time. We're honoring what's been lost while we birth this new future and support others in doing the same. And that's what 2025 has felt like. It's this push and pull back and forth. Next year, we need to have good scaffolding, to have a good infrastructure to carry what's coming. So we need to learn from where we've been and carry its medicine with us as we move into the future. This moon will help us unearth what was previously unseen. This will be a new opportunity to see it from a different perspective. Mercury retrogrades always give us a new perspective. All retrogrades do, but especially Mercury because it's so close to us. It's our everyday. Like, I'm noticing in this time how available my subconscious is. I can see patterns so clearly. I'm getting signs, very clear direction and clarity around things in the present moment. And so we quite literally have a flashlight in our basement. We have a flashlight so we can see things more clearly. Now, we don't always want to see what's in those boxes, but we need to see it. We need to be able to take apart these boxes to look at the materials so we can decide if it's the right thing to bring forward with us. And I really see Uranus's role in this new moon as divine intervention. This isn't destruction for its own sake. It's divine intervention, clearing away what has become stagnant so that new life can take root. This is change at the cellular level, the kind of transformation that happens when the soul decides it's done repeating the same pattern. And then we have this grand water trine that's softening the edges. Amidst the intensity, there's this healing current, this soft womb space for us to land. A portal of emotional integration, forgiveness, memory, where healing happens in presence and stillness, giving us time and space to process, to grieve, to go inward. We're releasing so much and transforming so much with Scorpio, but then we have this restoration of trust, this opportunity with this grand water trying to trust your intuition, trust your emotional intelligence, your body as an oracle. Water allows this process to unfold over time with consistency and devotion. And we are in the dark womb, the dark moon. This is a time of presence, of attunement, of patience, of holding, of surrender. This will be an emotional week. This will be a week of potentially discomfort and really revealing what we do when we feel uncomfortable. What needs reviewing as we end not only a lunar cycle and begin another one, but as we end these outer planet transits, as we step into a new phase. What death, release wants to occur, and how can we let it? How can we honor it? How can we have gratitude for it? On the 21st, the sun enters Sagittarius. The energy will definitely shift, but we'll still be in this scorpionic space with Venus and Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. This grand water trine still present. We are ending the year watery as we build towards February 2026. We're being initiated into emotional sovereignty with this new moon. Learning that your power isn't in holding everything together, but in allowing what's meant to dissolve to do so. Releasing your grip, surrendering and trusting in a deeper power and force within you. It's teaching us how to die consciously, to release not with resistance, but with reverence and appreciation. To let the light re-enter where the truth has been buried or stagnant or stuck. In so many ways, I feel like I'm living in this lesson with Benny, the foster dog who's laying with me as I record this, that moving into this fostering process, I know my attachment will be activated. I know my grief will be activated. I know my longing to have that void space filled will be activated. I know it won't be an easy process. He was an abandoned dog. He was dumped. He ended up in a shelter. He was probably handled really aggressively. He has some resource guarding. He has attachment and separation anxiety. And does that mean I shouldn't do it? What is it like to know that there's emotional intensity in something and still lean into it? And that's been one of my big lessons here, is how can I embrace this threshold? How can I let it crack me open? How can I choose to do it even though it's hard? Because I know that it's impactful and helpful, because it makes me feel like I'm doing something for a cause that I'm so passionate about, that I'm making a difference, even if it's in one dog's life. And so I've been back and forth with this, whether I'm self-sabotaging and creating chaos in my life because I have a Pluto in the first house in Scorpio, or if I'm just really leaning into those transformative waves of grief that come from doing something that you know will crack you open. So the card that I pulled today was from the Untamed Elemental deck. We're back in it. It's the Thunderbolt card for the Soul Archaeology community. And it's all about dispelling ignorance. Weapon of the sky, Thunderbolt is the conductor of consequence. Full-throated and unswerving, this electric iconoclast reigns with force, leveling resistance and dispelling ignorance. Though he seems destructive, his temper plays a part in the evolution of much of Earth's life forms. He has equal power to annihilate and bestow life. The moment he hits is an instant of synthesis, disrupting tightly held notions and lighting the way for new truths to emerge. Thunderbolt does not hold back his fervent proclamations, telling you that the difficulty is not in the issue itself, but rather in how you currently choose to see things. Ignorance is at the root of all suffering and arises from misperception about the nature of existence. This noxious obstacle to freedom can be overcome with the little effort once you cease clinging to limiting and damaging ideas. Call upon Thunderbolt to grace your perceptions with his sonic shockwave. Ask him to transform your perspective into a freshly seen, world-turned, mind-blown experience that elevates all of your relationships. When it's balanced, you feel illuminated, open-minded, content. When it's imbalanced, you might feel like you're suffering through misperception, craving, or aversive. To bring into balance, question the indoctrinations that cause your suffering. And I feel like this is very helpful because we're in a Mercury retrograde time. This is the time to question our beliefs. We were already in that energy with Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius. Now we're going even deeper into why do we believe what we believe? Not only where does it come from, but what parts of us ask for certainty through security. Thank you, as always, for being here. I'm so excited to welcome so many of you on the wait list for my group mentorship that begins early 2026. I haven't sent out information on it yet. The doors are not even open, but I have over 100 people on the wait list. I'm so excited for this. There are limited spaces, so if you're interested in working with me through 2026, through this incredibly monumental year, join the waitlist. You will receive first notice when the doors open. You'll get an early bird special. You will have all the details before everyone else. I am so excited for this next chapter. And I'm also hosting a 2026 forecast workshop that will be in December. Be on the lookout for that, for those dates. I'm so excited for this. I do this every year. This year I'm going to do a workbook alongside it. So it'll be a little bit more in depth, a little bit longer. I'm very excited for that too. You can get the link to that in my show notes. We'll be via Zoom. And if you can't make the live, no worries. You can always join via the recording, and the energy is just as potent. I'm also going to be sending out my gift list for the holidays. I don't love the idea of buying gifts, things we don't need for the holidays. I think it's just sort of a construct of consumerism in this country, and we have so much waste. It makes me sad. However, I love supporting small business during this time of year. They really, really need it. We need small business. It is a huge part of this new world that we're building, this beautiful ecosystem of power to the people. And so I'm going to be linking some of my favorite small businesses in that newsletter. So if you want to be added to my newsletter, I will link that in the show notes as well. I'll have discount codes on the show notes. And I think it's beautiful buying really intentional gifts for people you love during the holidays from small businesses. That is just makes my heart so happy. I love going to little small shops in town and in the Midwest where I'm from and supporting my friends. I have so many amazing friends who are makers and creators, and it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur. It takes a lot to have the courage to create things, and we need creators and artisans more than ever. So I encourage you to as well. This year, I'm not buying a single gift that isn't from a small business. So one of my favorite small businesses is Pound Jewelry. My dear friends, they are an all-lady trio of just true angels who are incredible creators and makers of some of the most beautiful, intentional adornment pieces, crystal jewelry that I've ever seen. And they have a new collection launching on the 21st of November. So check that out. Check out their website. I'll link it as well as my discount code in the show notes. Thank you, as always, for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all. I can't even tell you how many beautiful souls reach out to me who are dedicated listeners to this podcast. And I wish that we could all just be friends. I wish we could all just be a part of, we are in this soul archaeology community, this soul connectedness, this frequency, right? But I wish we could all just text each other, because there are so many beautiful people here who are so similar and from different parts of the world, all over the world. And I'm just so grateful. And I hope that the cohort next year feels like that. It feels like this coven or this vessel, this space for us to gather together and to be together. And I just love all of you. So thank you for being here. Happy new moon. I hope you navigate these waters with ease. I'm sending you all so much love, and I will see you next week.